In the heart of Persian literary history, a name shines like an everlasting fragrance, carrying our souls into a world filled with mysticism and wisdom. Attar of Nishapur. A poet, mystic, and sage of the 12th century, Attar built a bridge between humanity and a truth beyond words through timeless works like the Conference of the Birds and Memorial of the Saints. Join us on a brief journey through the life and thoughts of this great man, whose poetry offers not just beauty, but a guide to self-discovery and spiritual awakening. Attar of Nishapur was one of the most influential poets, mystics, and pharmacists of 12th century Iran, whose works left a profound impact on Persian mysticism and literature. His legacy isn't just in his mystical poetry, it's also rooted in his philosophical and humanistic worldview, which earned him a unique place in Iranian cultural history. Farid Attar was born around 735 AH in the city of Nishapur, a major cultural, scientific, and economic hub of Khorasan at the time. Attar's father was a well-known herbalist and pharmacist, and from an early age, Farid became familiar with the art of medicine and healing. Growing up in a scholarly household in an intellectually rich city helped shape his mind to absorb a wide range of knowledge. In his youth, Attar immersed himself in learning a wide range of disciplines, from medicine and pharmacology to hadith, Quranic interpretation, Islamic jurisprudence, philosophy, and Sufism. He worked in his father's herbal shop, which brought him into contact with people from all walks of life, especially the sick and suffering. It's said that witnessing human pain and listening to people's life stories deeply shaped his mystical perspective. Attar traveled widely, meeting scholars and Sufi masters of his time, journeys that were pivotal to his intellectual and spiritual growth. 12th century Nishapur was home to great minds like Imam al-Haramain Juwayni, Omar Khayyam, Ahmad Ghazali, and students of Nizam al-Mulk Tusi. Any bright child raised in such an environment would naturally be drawn to knowledge and learning. Attar's travels took him to cities like Baghdad, Kufa, Mecca, Damascus, and Balkh, where he encountered various mystical schools, from the Qadiri and Suhrawardi orders to the Malamati tradition. Each Sufi path held its own unique view on humanity, divinity, love, and annihilation of the self. Rather than blindly following a single order, Attar reflected deeply and created his own integrated personal vision of mysticism. Then one day, everything changed. After that moment, Attar was no longer the man he used to be. He was transformed forever. One day, a poor and humble dervish approached Attar asking for help, but Attar responded harshly and dismissed him. The dervish, hurt by Attar's coldness, said calmly, "If you want to get rid of me, I'll die right here in front of you." Attar smirked and said mockingly, "Go ahead, do as you wish." The dervish sat down, took deep, slow breaths, and before long, right in front of Attar, closed his eyes and passed away peacefully. What Attar first saw as foolishness suddenly struck him with profound meaning. This was a conscious, voluntary death, a liberation from the material world. That moment shook Attar to his core. His entire worldview collapsed, and a mystic was born. This experience led Attar to a new understanding of life and death, a turning point in his spiritual path. He realized death was not the end, but a gateway to a deeper truth, and embracing it was the key to inner peace and union with the divine. After years of study and life experience, Attar chose to dedicate himself fully to the inner path of mysticism. This inner transformation may have started with that encounter with the dervish, or a deep confrontation with mortality. But one thing is clear. Attar had turned away from the surface of the world to look into its essence. During this time, Attar began writing short, scattered texts that resembled prayers and intimate supplications more than formal poetry. These early writings later inspired works like the Ilahi-Nama, Book of God. His goal now was not just to know the truth, but to taste it. His first major surviving work is the Ilahi-Nama. This poetic masterpiece tells a series of stories from a wise king who wishes to guide his sons toward God. Each prince expresses a worldly desire, and the king replies with a mystical tale that reveals the deeper nature of life. After Ilahi-Nama, Attar created his most celebrated masterpiece, the Conference of the Birds, the pinnacle of his philosophical and poetic maturity. Written as a long allegorical poem, it tells the story of birds who embark on a challenging journey in search of their king, the legendary Simurgh. To reach him, they must cross 7 spiritual valleys: seeking, love, knowledge, detachment, unity, bewilderment, and finally, annihilation. In the end, only 30 birds remain, and they realize that the Simurgh is nothing but a reflection of their own true essence. This idea, the unity of existence, lies at the heart of Islamic mysticism. Attar's poetry carries a bold intellectual spirit. He doesn't hide behind polite phrases. He speaks fearlessly of divine love, human ignorance, the hypocrisy of the pious, and even the bitterness of death. Though mystical, his worldview is deeply realistic. He sees humanity with all its flaws, yet still points the way towards spiritual perfection. Attar deeply understood that to grasp the truth, a person must engage both the mind and the heart. That's why his poetry is rich with metaphors, layers of meaning, philosophical questions, and mystical symbolism. He wanted his readers to think, to question, and even to doubt. because for him, doubt was a vital part of the spiritual journey. Attar had become one of the most beloved and well-known poets and mystics of Khorasan. His works spread rapidly across Iran and Central Asia, recited in scholarly circles and Sufi gatherings alike. The city of Nishapur, Attar's birthplace and lifelong home, was one of Iran's major cultural and intellectual centers in the 12th and 13th centuries. But in 816 AH, this magnificent city was devastated by the Mongol invasion. As part of their campaign to conquer the Islamic world, the Mongols swept into Khorasan and ruthlessly destroyed Nishapur. Historical accounts describe a massacre of unimaginable scale in Nishapur. In that catastrophe, nearly 1 million people, including scholars, poets, women, and children, were killed. According to widely accepted accounts, Attar also lost his life during this invasion. Though the exact circumstances of his death are unclear, many stories about it have taken on a mythical quality. One story tells of an old man who, during the Mongol attack, threw a stone from a rooftop at the invading soldiers. When asked why he did it, he replied, "I'm paying my debt to my homeland." The Mongols seized him immediately and executed him in a brutal fashion. Here are some verses from Attar's poem, The Dawn Bird.
As the morning bird cried aloud, its wail echoed across the heavenly vault. When dawn rose behind the mountains, a fire rose up from the entire world. As the amber of night burned away by the flame of morning, the scent of musk rose from the garden in bloom. Though he hadn't touched a drop of wine, Attar was intoxicated and rose to sing the praise of the divine.
This poem speaks of spiritual awakening, a deep longing for truth, how it stirs the hearts of lovers. Dawn and light symbolize knowledge and divine truth, burning away the darkness of ignorance and neglect. Divine love is like a wine that intoxicates the soul, lifting it toward worship and union with the beloved. Though Attar lived in the 12th century, his works, thoughts, and way of life were so profound and influential that his legacy transcended time and geography. He is not just a figure of Nishapur or Iran, but a global voice in the realm of mysticism and literature. For Iranians, Attar has always symbolized mystical thought, simple living, and the nobility of the human spirit. Even those who've never read his poems in full often know him through proverbs, famous quotes, and everyday cultural references. Many mystical ideas common in popular culture today have their roots in Attar's poetry and philosophy. Alongside Khayyam and Ferdowsi, Attar's name is one of the great cultural honors of Nishapur. His tomb in Nishapur remains a sacred destination for lovers of poetry and spirituality. Festivals, literary gatherings, and tributes held in his name reflect the deep cultural respect he continues to receive. Attar's works, especially the Conference of the Birds and Memorial of the Saints, are still taught in Iran's universities, in literature, philosophy, and the humanities. Countless studies have explored the narrative structure, poetic language, mystical ideas, and expressive style of Attar, and the research continues to grow. To date, Attar's works have been translated into many languages, including English, French, German, Turkish, Arabic, Russian, and Urdu. Translators like Reynold Nicholson and Cyril Glacé have produced celebrated English versions of the Conference of the Birds. These translations have played a vital role in introducing global audiences to Iranian Sufism and have secured Attar's place in the canon of world literature. One of the most striking aspects of Attar's philosophy is his deep, holistic view of the relationship between humanity, the universe, and God. In Attar's view, humans are not isolated beings. They are part of a greater creation, with a divine mission, to return to their true origin. To Attar, every human is a potential seeker, a soul that has descended into the material world, only to rise again through experience and spiritual journeying. He believed that humans can understand the truth, but only if they overcome the ego. In Attar's writing, the self is a symbol of pride, ignorance, and illusion. To Attar, God is an all-encompassing, absolute truth, beyond the grasp of limited human intellect. God can only be known through love, intuition, and self-annihilation. In Attar's eyes, God is both distant and near, both absent and ever-present. In Attar's view, the world is a manifestation of the divine. Every being and every phenomenon reflects a divine attribute. Nothing in existence is meaningless, not even pain and suffering. This is a deeply mystical and meaningful outlook, where even sorrow and death carry spiritual wisdom. To Attar, the ultimate goal of human life is to return to the origin of existence, the source from which we came. This return is only possible through the spiritual journey, crossing the 7 valleys of transformation. Along the way, the seeker must let go of worldly attachments, personal desires, and even rational thinking, so they can perceive truth through the heart. Attar's legacy shines in 3 core areas: poetry, mysticism, and human thought. In poetry, he created a fresh and profound language that conveyed complex mystical ideas with elegance and clarity. In mysticism, he mapped out a spiritual journey that moves forward with intellect, emotion, and inner intuition together. In human philosophy, he championed core values like dignity, love, forgiveness, poverty, annihilation of the ego, and unity.
The kind of love that burns the heart and soul, that sets your body ablaze with divine fire. Love is a merciless flame, and yet the soul clings tightly to it. Unless you understand the secret of this world, you'll never find the path or the guide. Whoever fails to know themselves will never reach the destination of truth.
Attar, with his sweet yet piercing words, sets us on the path of discovering ourselves and our Creator. The end of his life marks the beginning of a new horizon, inviting us to reflect on something beyond the everyday. Reading his works isn't just meeting a great poet or mystic, it's like looking into a mirror that reveals who we really are. May this encounter be more than just reading. May it spark a journey of reflection, inner search, and spiritual awakening. Attar spent years immersed in the boundless ocean of love and wisdom. With a burning pen, he wrote of life's passions and the mysteries of being. For him, death was not the end, but a rebirth. His soul dances through his words, living on in every heart it touches.